Beruchim haboim, welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on the Chavov Amud Beis, the last 3 lines. The Mishnah discusses Zmanei Tefillah and tells us as a machlokes in regards to Shacharis. The Chacham says you can daven Shacharis all the way until Chatzos. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says only ad arba shos. The Gemara wants to qualify and clarify the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Iboy luhu ad va'ad bechlal, oy dilmo ad v'loy ad bechlal. What is the kavan of Rabbi Yehuda? Did he mean to say ad arba shos? That means includes the entire 4th hour, and therefore you can daven shacharis until the first third of the day? Or did he say up until the 4th hour, but doesn't include the 4th hour, whereby you can only daven the first fourth of the day? Tashma. The Gemara brings a proof from Rabbi Yehuda's words himself. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ad plag hamincha. What was his kavanah when he said ad plag hamincha? You can daven mincha until ad plag hamincha. Iyam is bishloma ad v'loy ad bichlal. If you want to say that his kavanah was not including after plag hamincha up until plag hamincha, Hainu di'ika ben Rabbi Yehuda l'Rabbanan. Then you'll have a machlokis between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. That Rabbi Yehuda would say you can daven until Plaga Mincha, up until the 10 and 3/4 hours. But after that you cannot daven Mincha anymore. Whereas the Chachamim say no, you can daven Mincha all the way until the Shkia. Ela Yamris ad ve'ad bichlal. That it comes to include even beyond, all the way until the Shkia, then there's no machlokis between the Chacham and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, Hainu, Rabbanon. They are of the same opinion. They both would say you can daven Mincha all the way until the Shkia. Elamai ad v'loy ad bichlal. So you want to then conclude that Rabbi Yehuda says ad v'loy ad bichlal. Ask the Gemara, Ema Seifa. Let's bring the Seifa, the latter part of the Mishnah that talks about Tfilas Musaf. V'shel Musafin kol hayoim, Rabbi Yehuda oimer ad sheva shos. There's a machlokes in regards to Tfilas Musaf. Rabbi Yehuda, the Chacham said you can daven Musaf until the entire day, meaning until the Shkia, from the morning till the Shkia. Rabbi Yehuda says ad sheva shos. V'tanya, hayu lefonov shtei tfilos. The Brisa says if you have 2 tfilos, Mincha and Musaf, that coincide, so what takes precedence? Acha shel Musaf v'acha shel Mincha. So according to the first opinion, mispalo shel Mincha v'achaka shel Musaf, shezu tedira v'zu ena tedira. The first opinion says that we have a concept of tadir v'she'eno tadir koiden. Since Mincha is daven every single day, and Musaf is only daven on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Moyadim, therefore the Mincha takes precedence over the Musaf, and therefore when they coincide, you daven the Mincha, and then you daven Musaf. Rabbi Yehuda argues, mispalel shel Musaf v'achakach shel Mincha. Why? Shezu oiveres v'zu eina oiveres. Because the Musaf will be oiveres, and the Mincha will not be oiveres. Because he holds the Musaf can be daven ad sheva shos, whereas the Mincha can be daven ad plaga Mincha. Iyam is bishloma ad ve'ad bichlal. If you want to suggest that his opinion is ad ve'ad bichlal, that includes the 7th hour, and therefore you can daven Musaf until the 7th hour here, then you will have a situation where the Musaf and the Mincha coincide, because there'll be a window between the beginning time you can daven Mincha, which is 6.5 hours and onwards, and Musaf, which would be the entire 7th hour, because we're saying ad ve'ad bichlal. So there'll be a window between the 6.5 hours and the 7th hour that the two coincide. You can daven both Musaf as well as Mincha. Eliyamris ad v'loy ad bichlal. But if you want to say that it's only up until the 7th hour, heichi mishkachas lu shtei tfilos b'hadi adodi. Where are you going to find that the 2 tfilos of Musaf and Mincha coincide? Kivan da'asya lo shel Mincha, as lo shel Musafin. Once Mincha comes, Musaf has already left. Because again, Musaf would only be up until the 7th hour, and Mincha only begins 6.5 hours into the day, a half an hour later. Elamai, so you want to conclude ad ve'ad bichlal, as the Gemara Kashya Reisha. My ika ben Rabbi Yehuda l'Rabbanan. So let's go back to what we asked before. What would be the difference in Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan in regards to Plaga Mincha? If you say it's Ad Ve'ad Bechlal, so we're saying Ad Ve'ad Bechlal, according to Rabbi Yehuda, would mean take it all the way until the Shkia. And therefore, there's no machlokes between them. Says the Gemara, Misavris Dahai Plag Mincha Plag Achroina Kamar Plag Rishoina Kamar. Who said that we're talking about the second half of the time of Plaga Mincha? And whereby you say it includes, if it's Ad Ve'ad Bechlal Plaga Mincha, means the second half taking you to the Shkia. Maybe it means Ad Ve'ad Bechlal, the first half, and therefore up until the 10th hour and 3/4. That means that it goes all the way up until Plaga Mincha. And therefore it's Ad Ve'ad Bechlal, the first half of the Mincha, of Plaga Mincha. V'hochi kamar, Eimas nafik Plag Rishoino, v'ayel Plag Achroino. When do we say the first half of the time goes out, v'ayel Plag Achron, and the second half comes in? Mechinafik Yud Aleph Shos Chaser Revia. That's when 11 hours minus a quarter, which would be 10 hours and 3/4 of the day. In other words, again, Ad Ve'ad Bechlal would be including the first half until the time of 10 hours and 3/4, which would give you then a machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim. Once again, Rabbi Yehuda would say you can daven until that point in time, and that's still Ad Ve'ad Bechlal. And the Chacham would say you can daven all the way until the Shkia. Rav Nachman Af Anan Nami Tanina. We also taught this. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava Heid Chamisha Dvorim. He testified to 5 things that the Chachamim said, and this is the halacha for each one. The first one, Shemema'anin es haktana. Al pi Torah, only the father can then mekadesh his daughter who's a ketana. If she's a Yesoima, however, the Rabbanan said that the mother can also do so. However, that the Yesoima has the ability to make a miyun, to mema'enes, and decide that she does not want to carry through with that marriage. Sometimes the Chachamim will instruct the Yesoima to say so that she does not want to then continue on with this marriage, and therefore she will not require a get, and the marriage will be batul. So it says over here, Shemaninas Haktana, that we give Bezdin at certain times the rights to instruct her to mema'enes, to refuse the kiddushin, the marriage. V'shemasin es ha'isha al pi erechot. Sometimes there's a situation where a woman's husband was in Medinas Hayam, and he was reported only by one person that he died, and there's no 2 edim. So as not to leave her as an aguna, there's a special kula to rely on this one aid to say that her husband had passed away, had died. And thirdly, ve'al tarnegol sheniskal b'Yushalayim al sheharges hanefesh, on a tarnegol that pecked at the forehead of a tinoik, whose forehead was very soft, and because it pecked onto the forehead, it actually entered the skull of this child and killed the child. So we give the tarnegol the same din as a shor haniskal, when a shor is going to then kill a person through goring a person. So that shor will be killed with skila. So too the tarnegol will also be killed with skila. Wine that has been 40 days old, that has the din that could be now used on the mizbech for yayin nesech. And the 5th din, which is our inyan, Val Tomid Shel Shachar, Shekarv Bi'arba Shos. And the Tomid Shel Shachar was brought in the 4th hour. So it implies over here, therefore, that it's Ad Ve'ad Bechlal, including the 4th hour. Shmamina Ad Ve'ad Bechlal Shmamina. Omer Rav Kahana, Halacha K'Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that one can daven Shachris only until the end of the 4th hour, which comes out to be the first third of the day. We'll skip the 2 dots and read it together, because the Mishnah in Edios testifies that this is the halacha and says that a Talmid Shel Shachar was brought in the 4th hour, and therefore since Shachris corresponds to the Talmid Shel Shachar, therefore one can daven Shachris until the end of the 4th hour. it comes out something interesting. It comes out that there are three really madregos. The first madrega in davening shacharis is tfilosa bizmano. That means up until the end of the fourth hour. If a person still did not daven then, he can daven shacharis up until chatzois, which is again a half an hour before the zman of the mincha gedola. It's a lesser madrega, but it's still before chatzois, before the zman of the mincha. If he still did not daven then, and he's either b'shoigeg or ba'oines, then he can make a tashlumin and make it up after the mincha that he davens. He davens mincha, says ashrei again, and then davens the second shmoner esrei, which is going to be towards the shacharis that he missed. That'll be a third madrega, a third level of tefillah that's not bizmana, but he will get schar tefillah. Says the Gemara, man tana luhu. Who is the Tana who taught the following? The Tana Rabbanon. It says in the Brisa, V'cham hashemesh v'nomas. The Brisa quotes a pasuk. I'll read the pasuk in its totality. Vayilkitu oiso ba'boiker ba'boiker. They gathered in the man, boiker boiker, morning. Ish kefi achlo, each person according to his eating. V'cham hashemesh v'nomas. And the heat of the sun will then cause it to become melted. So these words, V'cham hashemesh v'nomas, quotes the Brisa. Ba'arba shos, is it the fourth hour, Ata oimer ba'arba shos, or Eino ella b'sheish shos, or does it mean really the sixth hour? What are we talking about when it says V'cham hashemesh v'nomas? That afterwards the sun caused the man to melt. Kishu oimer kechoim hayoim, harei sheish shos, omor. When it says in another place, when Avram Avinu was sitting at the door of his tent, it says the lashon that he was sitting at the door of the tent, kechoim hayoim, which has the implication that it was cham everywhere, it was hot wherever you are. In the heat of the sun and also in the shade, it was hot. Therefore, what are the words, which is a different expression, v'cham hashemesh v'namas, which implies that it's only cham, it's only hot in the shemesh, but not in the tzel. Be'arba shos, it must imply the fourth hour. Mani, then who is the author of this brisa? Lo Rabbi Yehuda, v'lo Rabbanon. It's not either one. I Rabbi Yehuda ad arba shos namitzafrahu. Rabbi Yehuda says that the entire fourth hour until the end of the fourth hour is considered to be morning. I Rabbanon ad chatzois namitzafrahu. And if according to the Rabbanon, they say that the morning is all the way until chatzois. So this pasuk which says they gathered in the man, ba'boiker, and only afterwards that the sun made it hot and caused it to melt, that can't be not like Rabbi and not like Rabbanan, because Rabbi again says that the morning is all the way until the end of the fourth hour, and the Rabbanan say that morning is considered to be all the way until chatzois, and this pasuk implies that it melted after they gathered in, after the boiker. Says the Gemara, boys emo Rabbi Yehuda, boys aim Rabban. You can suggest it's either Rabbi Yehuda, you can also say it's according to the Rabbanon as well. Boys emo Rabbanon. You can explain it to be according to the Rabbanon as follows. Omakro baboiker, chalkeilu l'shnei bekorim. Since the pasuk says boiker twice, you can separate into two different parts. You can say that chatzois is 6 hours into the day. Half of that time is 3 hours. So the first 3 hours is boiker, when they were then malaket the man, they would gather in the man. After that, then it would melt. But it's still considered to be morning according to the Chachamim. V'bois eimo Rabbi Yehuda, hai boiker, yesero lahaktim lo sho achas. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can say the first 3 hours is considered to be boiker, and that's the first boiker that's referring to when they gathered in the man. Then it says boiker the second time, which is coming to precede 1 more hour, and say that therefore it goes 1 hour before that. And therefore Rabbi Yehuda can say yes, that there's an entire 4 hours is considered to be boiker, and nonetheless it's the fourth hour when it began to melt according to the pasuk. Says the Gemara, the kuli alma mia v'cham hashemesh v'nomas ba'arba shos. According to everybody, we're saying that over here that the words v'cham hashemesh v'nomas means that it happened in the fourth hour, that they gathered in the man, And then subsequently, after the third hour, beginning with the fourth hour, then the heat of the sun caused it to melt. My mashma, how is it mashma that indeed this is the fourth hour? Because the pasuk is v'chama shemesh v'nomas, that the sun caused the heat to cause it to melt. What is that hour that only the shemesh in the sun is it hot, but in the tzel in the shade it is cold? You have to say that's arba shols, and therefore that's the implication over here as well. Says the Gemara, quoting our Mishnah, Tfilas hamincha ad ha'erev. A person can daven mincha ad ha'erev, according to the Chachamim, until Shkia, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, ad plag hamincha. Omar leRav Chizda leRav Yitzchok, Hasom Amrav Kahana halach Rabbi Yehuda, Hoyel v'tnam bebechirosa kavasei. Hachamai. There, Rav Kahana said the halacha is indeed like Rabbi Yehuda in regards to shacharis, that you can daven shacharis until and including the entire fourth hour, because we had an edios, we had the chachamim being made in Maseches edios that the halacha is like him. But what is the halacha over here in regards to mincha? Is it also like him? That you can daven ad plag ha-mincha? Or is the halacha like the chachamim, you can daven mincha until shkia? Ishtik, he was quiet. And he didn't answer anything. He didn't say anything. Let us ourselves see. From the fact that Rav, he davened on Erev Shabbos, a tfilas Ma'ariv Shel Shabbos, implies that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Because, after all, he must have davened mincha before Plaga Mincha. Then after Plaga Mincha, it's acceptable upon oneself Shabbos, which he did, and then he davened Mariv after Plaga Mincha. So therefore, that would fit according to Rabbi Yehuda, because you can daven Mariv after Plaga Mincha. Says the Gemara, Adarabbo, Midrav Hunav Rabbana loy havu matzliu. Ad orta shmamina ein halach Rabbi Yehuda. From the fact that Rav Huna and the Rabbanan did not daven early on Erev Shabbos, a tfilas Mariv Shel Shabbos implies that they did not want to hold like Rabbi Yehuda, they held like Rabbanan, because they had to wait until after the Shkia to daven Mariv. Says the Gemara, Hashta de lo itmar hilchasa lo kemar v'lo kemar. Since the halacha is not stated explicitly, not like one or the other, not like the Rabbi Yehuda who says ad plaga mincha, and not like the chacham until the shkia. The ovid kemar ovad, or the ovid kemar ovad. If one does like one, he can do so. If he does like the other, he can do so. Even so, a person has to be careful to be consistent. And at least, therefore, on the same day, he shall not have a stira, what's called tarti de satri. That means to say that if he's going to daven mariv early, before the shkia, so then he has to be careful to daven mincha before plaga mincha, in order to be consistent, because before plaga mincha means that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. After plaga mincha, then he can daven mariv, which would be the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. But if he's going to daven mincha also after the plaga mincha, and at the same time daven mariv after plaga mincha, but before the shkia, then he's going to be mixing and matching. He's going to be davening the time of mariv lefi Rabbi Yehuda, which is still really the time of mincha according to the Chachamim.